Beauty calls and gives no warning. Shadows rise and wander on the day. In the twilight, in the quiet evening.
So here's what I've learned. To step toward working for peace, you have to both face and step away from your own experience of war. So these are two poems about survivors and veterans doing that. The first one is about my father. That winter after he returned from the hospital, not driving, still not sure of his outline in space, I watched as he cut the rough shape from a lump of cherry wood, then carved with special knives. Though at 5, I had no idea what it meant for my father to hold such a thing as a knife again. Then he sanded, rubbed with linseed oil until we saw unmistakably what remains. Frog born rosy and new in the heaven of the possible. Spring wound hopeful in his hands. And this one is about someone I got to know at the William Joyner Institute for the Study of War and Social Consequences at UMass Boston. I'm always insecure about whether I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but I just go for it. It's a Vietnamese name. And this man is responsible for a huge proportion of the Vietnamese poetry translated into English and available for us to read. Win Ba Chung reads his poem from the 100 Best. Like singing, its intonation and claim on us. The poem returns to his village, the year they were held by both French and Japanese, the year of starvation, when rice broth, a thin, precious rumor of food, sustained them. He shares with us this long practice to hold that bowl again, to set it down and walk away.
I got Cheryl's email looking for things written about peace. I realized that I had written something that had Iran in it. And it came in a dream, and it became a song. And I would encourage everybody to write their own song or their own poem and start every verse with "In My Utopia," because that's the name of the song. So I'll try to give it a whirl here. In my utopia, flowers are in bloom. Butterflies come inside, fill up every room. Ruby-throated hummingbirds find poetry in every word. Conversation held in song is full of harmony. In my utopia, the air is soft and warm. Children play everywhere. Women are never harmed. Music keeps playing over in the barn. What you need is ripening somewhere on the farm. Help yourself to some when you come in my utopia. In my utopia, there's always a parade. The grandstand's a marching band, the old cars never fade. Leading the procession, every mistake I made. We celebrate progress here, not the price you pay. When you come in my utopia, welcome to my utopia. In my utopia, somewhere in Iran, the Pope and the Ayatollahs pick up guitars and jam. They like it so much they form a band and tour the Western Hemisphere in a hybrid minivan. And they call their band Utopia because that would be utopia. In my utopia, I ride the open sea, pushed along my little song by a steady breeze, headed for a distant shore where people welcome me, arms wide open, smiling happily. They ask me to sing a song, everybody sings along. I sing every song I know. Suddenly love flows like a waterfall, fills the pool I call my heart in my utopia. In my utopia, there are no complaints. No one will criticize if a saint you ain't. All minds are open. No one thinks the same. Children are the teachers because they know the game, and the game is called utopia because children live in utopia. They knew they would find cornucopia when they flew down the tube of Fallopia. Sorry. Come in my utopia. Don't wait until you feel there is hope enough. Let it fly in your heart as it opens up. Come in my utopia. Life is good. Life is good. Thank you.
This is a story from West Africa that I learned from a storyteller in England. Long ago, in a small village, there was a woman who lived with her brother who was blind, and they were very close. The blind man was known throughout the whole village for having great wisdom, so people would come to him with problems and ask him what they should do, and he would listen and think and answer and always gave the best advice. Now, his sister got married to a great hunter from another village, and the hunter came to live with her in her home with the brother. Now, he could not understand the use of a man who couldn't see, who lived in darkness. And he would go off every day and hunt and bring back his game, and they lived a very good life, except that the blind man felt left out, and he would say occasionally to his brother-in-law, "Please, may I come with you hunting tomorrow?" And the hunter would just laugh at him. And how can a blind man help me hunt? You just get in the way. And so the blind man would wait, and he would sit on his bench outside of the hut, and he would talk to the villagers who loved him. And day after day, every evening, he would ask the great hunter, "May I come with you hunting tomorrow?" Finally, after many months, the hunter had a very good day hunting, and he got a gazelle, and he brought this home, and his wife had prepared a delicious meal from the food that he brought. And his brother-in-law, the blind man, asked again, "Can I go hunting with you tomorrow?" He was in a good mood. I think he'd had some rice wine or whatever they drink in West Africa. Yes, you can come with me tomorrow. So early the next day, they began to walk. They had to walk a long way into the forest. And the hunter took the hand of the blind man so that he wouldn't trip or fall, and he took him. And as they were walking for quite some hours, suddenly the blind man said, "Stop. Wait. I hear a lion." And the hunter looked around and he said, "I see nothing. I can't see a lion." He said, "There is a lion. But no, he has eaten. He's sleeping. We're all right." And when they walked a little further up the path, sure enough, there was a lion sleeping very close to the path, having just had a good meal. And they walked a little further, and they walked, and then suddenly the blind man said, "Stop, wait," and he tugged on the hand of his brother-in-law, and he said, "I hear an elephant. Wait." "No," he said, "it's all right. The elephant is having a bath in a pool of water. He won't notice us." And so it went that wherever they walked, and the blind man would tug on his brother-in-law's hand to say, "Wait," and he'd say he heard an animal, and the animal could be asleep like the lion, but he heard him nonetheless. So the hunter was getting a bit curious about his special skills. Eventually they came to a part of the forest where the hunter said, "We are going to lay traps to catch birds." I have to mention here, spoiler alert, I don't like hunting, but this is what they do in Africa. So they set two traps, the trap that belonged to the blind man and the trap that belonged to the hunter. And then they took the very long hour's walk back to the village. And they waited overnight, and the next morning they went out. And the hunter reached back to take the hand of the blind man, and the blind man said, "It's all right, I know the way now." And sure enough, they walked, and he knew exactly which places he had to step over roots, or the path changed, and he followed him all the way to the place where the birds' net were trapped. And he saw, the hunter, two birds. He saw a very plain little gray bird in his trap, and he saw a very beautiful crimson, green, and gold bird in the blind man's trap. And he said, "Sit here on this rock, wait, I'll get the birds." The hunter thought to himself, well, he can't see, he lives in darkness, he won't know, I'll just switch the birds. So he gave the blind man the little gray bird, and he took the beautiful crimson, green, and gold bird, and they began to walk back to the village with their birds, which were alive, so that's a good thing. And as they were walking, the brother-in-law who was the hunter had heard a lot about the wisdom of his blind brother-in-law, and he said, "Let me ask you a question," he said. "Tell me this, since you are so wise. Why is there so much hate and violence and war in the world?" And the blind man, without skipping a step and walking behind him, said, "Because there are too many people in the world who want to take things that don't belong to them." And the hunter realized what he had done. And he said, wait, I'm sorry. He said, "Let me give you the bird that was in your trap. It's a very beautiful, colorful bird, and I'll take the little gray bird." And he swapped the birds, feeling very ashamed of himself. And the hunter and his brother-in-law, the blind man, kept walking back towards the village. And the hunter, uncharacteristically, was deep in thought, not something he did much. And he then said to his brother-in-law, "Tell me this, since you are so wise. And why is it there is so much love and compassion in the world?" And the blind man, without skipping a step, he said, "Because there are so many people in the world like you who learn from their mistakes." And they kept walking, and they got back to the village. And from that moment on, anytime anyone said about his blind brother-in-law, "What use is a blind man in this world?" the hunter put his arm around his brother-in-law and said, he said, "This is the wisest man in the village, if not the world, because he sees with his ears and learns with his heart."
I am not a poet, so I'm not reading any of my poems. but I am reading from a book of contemporary liturgies written by actually the father of someone who's here today, Douglas McKelvey. Wrote this, the name of it is Every Moment Holy, or yes, Every Moment Holy, and comes totally out of his and our Christian understanding worldview that every moment is holy, that all of life is spiritual, and that God cares about everything from, as he has a liturgy, for changing diapers, to making soup, to having coffee in the morning, to buying a new house. And the one that I'm going to read, I thought of this, because actually I opened to it last night because of Cheryl asking about having meditations or poems on peace. This is a liturgy for first responders. I am also not a first responder, but I have a son who is a first responder. And Anna has a husband who is a first responder, who's a firefighter. And I think many of us, whether or not we're first responders, we live in a broken world. And we are called into the lives of friends, neighbors, family who are experiencing trauma in different ways, different kinds of trauma and pain. And so this would be a prayer for any of us entering the lives of a friend in trauma. O God, who shrank not from danger, but willingly entered the chaos of our world, walk with me now as I enter the hard moments of others. As I rush into flickering vignettes of fear and loss, may I carry into them your presence, your comfort, your peace. Do not let my adrenaline overmaster my empathy. May those whose lives are overturned by emergency find in their interactions with me their distresses calmed, their burdens lightened. As I assess and act, let my heart be always guided by mercy, my mind by right judgment, and my hands by your wisdom. That by all means, my presence in another person's moment of pain or confusion might mark the beginning of your movement to redeem the disruption of their lives. And in those situations where my strength or skill is not enough to aid or save, when loss or harm proves irreparable, let me neither rage against you nor against my own limits, O Lord, but let me instead find humility to trust your sovereignty and to comfort those others however I can. I would be a bearer of your peace, but let me also learn to rest my own heart in it, that at the end of each shift, I might return home, not shaken and distracted, but able to be fully present for those who need me, not just in the discord of one dire moment, but daily through the slow and necessary lifelong work of deep fellowship and nurturing and love. Amen.
I have a confession to make. The Christmas lights are still up. Christmas lights. The lights wrap around the tree. So many colors merging. They give off such good energy. And the tree is healthy like you and me. The lights shine and fill me up. I look in your eyes and also see lights shining. Is this a portent for the year to come? I will feel sad when the Christmas tree is taken down. One of the things, talking about sadness, we hear about the 1%, and there's also a 1% of males who probably, I don't know what the percentage is, who have wreaked havoc on the world. And sadly, women often bear the brunt of this anger, this fear. And I think this poem speaks to, ultimately, to one of the secrets to peace is opening up our hearts. Cracks in the driveway. Walking down the driveway, sloping down the road. Winter-ravaged trees hug the edges, rotting leaves bedding down again. Tall, gangly are the trees, some leaning over, like me after many years, life-ravaged. Lugging barrels of carefully sorted rubbish, recycles in one, trash in the other. Deep green are the leaves to match the leaves that aren't there anymore, as cold and wind have consumed them, until spring at least. I slowly move forward, careful not to spill any detritus. There is more than usual during this holiday time. As I dawdle down the tarmac, I see a crack across the black driveway, battered by the ice and rain, a melting, freezing dance, a cycle that would beat down the bravest of souls. The crack riven across is an impairment to be fixed before it becomes larger. You and I have been talking, sharing, learning, and a crack has appeared in your defenses, in my defenses. My breath has calmed, breached not by ice, but by the warmth of your love and the warmth of mine as I melt in your fire. The cycle of love. Just as the seasons flow one into the other, merged yet separate. I have worked hard to understand you. And you have worked hard to accept me. I am part of the tribe that have so wronged you. Easy to set me aside, see me as the other. But you hung in there, and the cracks let my love in, my caring. Cracks in the driveway, cracks in the heart. One can grow as wide as needed. The other must be sealed up, patched, to be impervious. The exact opposite of what I need from you. Thank you.
The poem I'd like to read is titled Sending You Butterflies. It's in line with Anna's theme of butterflies and the theme of peace, inner peace. It's a very personal poem I wrote for my brother after his daughter, my niece, died of a long bout of cancer. I was looking for an organization to help him through his grief, and I found Compassionate Friends. It's an organization for parents dealing with the death of children, and their logo is the butterfly. Sending You Butterflies, written for my brother from my niece, his daughter. Don't tie yourself to me with too many tears. Be thankful for the wonderful years we shared. I gave you my love, and you gave me so much more. Now I must travel without you by my side. I'm in a place of greater beauty, more freedom than I ever thought was possible. It's another dimension. Close your eyes and imagine a place with no sadness, no sorrow, no pain. A place where I'll never hurt again. I spread my graceful feathery wings and sing in harmony with the angels. Each time you see a butterfly stretching its graceful feathery wings, brushing its feet on the grass, singing in swoops, fits and dives, pay attention. It's a messenger for me that my spirit lives on. Though you can't see me as I once was, the butterfly lets you know that I'll always be near, listening to you, comforting you, loving you. Thank you.
Hello, Hopkinton. And may I extend to you my very best wishes for a happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year. Now, I've got to ask you, have you ever been in love? This is a poem I wrote to my beloved wife, Claire, now deceased, 3 years after we were married. It's a very short poem, but it expresses my love for my wife so completely. I hope you'll forgive me if I get emotional while I recite it. 3 years ago, we took an oath, for better or for worse. The joy the joy you've given me since then, I could never reimburse. For you have caused my heart to grow beyond all human measure with a love that far exceeds the worth of every human treasure. As you can tell, I'm still in love. Thank you very much.
So this poem I wrote for my dear friend in December 2019. She used to live in many different countries before she came here to Hopkinton, and she just became an American citizen. So called Welcome Home. What did I learn from leaving home? I carry with me everything that makes my house my home. What defines a home or makes us feel at home? Is it a physical place, an environment, a room? Is it the time you stay in a place? And how much time does it take to be in a place to really call it home? What defines a home or make us feel at home? Is it about your family, traditions, routine? Try to search inside yourself what is already your home. There are things you carry with you, traditions that connect to you to what feeds your being and your soul. This is not restricted to one place. Memories connect us with the sense of home, but you always can create new ways to feel at home. It's a continuous process of growing up. I know that you've never been so connected to the things that fuel you and make you feel complete, like here, the home of your heart, the place you have chosen, the place you feel you belong. So it means so much more for you now. I'm so happy to hear that it's the first time you have lived at home for 20 years. Welcome home, my friend. Thank you.
Under the flaming leaves, freezes the sky, it is the season grieves. Not you, not I. Oh, we have awakened sweet and had our birth, and that's the end of earth. And we have toiled and smiled and kept the light, and that's the end of night.